Hi, I'm Kaylee, and today I am reviewing Anthony Trollope's Can You Forgive Her? I picked up this book to read for victober, and I've been meaning forever to finally start reading the Palliser Series, and this is the first book in the Palliser Series. And I loved it so much. I always love Anthony Trollope, but this one is a really, really good one. Make sure that you subscribe and give this video a like if you want to see more content about Victorian classics in the future. And follow me over on Goodreads and Storygraph and Instagram and all the places. I actually listened to the entire book on Audiobook, narrated by Timothy West, and I really, really loved it. I think I might actually look up audiobooks from Timothy West for the rest of the Palliser series because it just enhanced the whole experience to hear him doing different voices for the characters and everything. It was just wonderful. It was really easy to follow along with everything that was happening. And since this is quite a lengthy book, it's difficult to find time to read such a large book. So having it on audiobook makes it much easier to kind of have some time management there of when to find time to read. So let's talk about the actual story. Alice breaks off her engagement with John Grey and considers the proposal of her cousin, George, instead. She vacillates between these two men as she vacillates in her own character. She considers what her life would be like with each of them and has to decide what kind of person she wants to be. She worries that she'll be stuck in a boring country life with John Grey and longs for more political excitement as her cousin George is up for election and hopes to gain a seat in Parliament. Alice is confused, she can't sort through her true feelings, and she has no one to guide her in making these decisions. Meanwhile, Alice's friend, Lady Glencora, is also wavering between two men, her own husband, Plantagenet Palliser, and her old suitor, Burgo Fitzgerald. Lady Glencora admits to Alice that she never really loved her husband and only married him because she was pressured into it by her family. She longs for true love with Burgo, who has asked her to run away with him and be his mistress. But she hesitates because she can't bear the shame that she would bring on herself and her husband. Both these women must decide who to love and thereby decide who they will become. This book reads like a Victorian telenovela soap opera. I mean, I was yelling at the book and sighing and crying and raging at the characters. It's just this emotional roller coaster, and I loved every second. The plot has more twists and turns than I thought it would. Right when you think you know what somebody's going to do, they do the opposite. And then something happens, and now they need money, or this guy dies, and it's never quite going in the direction that you expected it to. And then the characters have to readjust their expectations or what they're doing. The plot had me guessing all the way through. Trollope was just a genius in his characterizations. He had a special insight into human nature that really shines in his realistic characters. None of the bad guys are all bad. Even the worst ones have one or two decent qualities. And none of the good guys are all good. They have their foibles and their faults too. So it made it really interesting to gradually discover the hidden depths in each character because there really is so much there to dive into. I just love Plantagenet Palliser. He's really complex, very multi-layered. At first I thought he was just too cold and calculating, and I didn't like him. But then we get to see his true heart through the story, and I grew to love him. I found his marriage with Glencora to be really interesting in many ways. Glencora is childish and immature, and Plantagenet is kind of condescending to her. But in other ways, Glencora is actually more emotionally mature than he is. And sometimes she's more courageous because she's willing to look reality in the face and call a spade a spade. Glencora is very demonstrative with her feelings, and she wants to be loved by someone who will be just as boisterous and unconstrained in their love. But Plantagenet is reticent. He's restrained in his nature. Although he may feel things very deeply, he thinks it's unseemly to express his feelings in any extreme manner. And so they are at odds at the beginning of their marriage. They have trouble understanding the other person's personality and emotional needs. Their dynamic is full of friction, and I love seeing them gradually understand each other better. Alice is such an amazing character. I just loved her right away because she's trying to be honest. She's trying to do what she thinks is right, but she goes about it the wrong way. She misunderstands. She makes mistakes. She sort of catches at these dreams of what could be. And when her dreams start to come true, she recoils from the reality of what she thought she wanted. I definitely forgave her in the end because she was truly doing her best, with no one to counsel her in her follies. One of the really interesting things about her character is her self-deprecation and sense of guilt over her inability to decide between these men. She grieves over her lack of consistency and feels like she is unworthy. But eventually she has to learn to forgive herself. A better title for the book might be, Can She Forgive Herself? I completely adore John Gray. He is so patient and kind and good and wise. He is the perfect, heroic gentleman. And every scene with John, my attention was completely riveted on him. Even though he is soft-spoken and gentle, he has such a commanding presence. His slightest word carries a lot of weight because of the power of his personality. And you can see how all the other characters react to that quiet power of his as well. I was really intrigued with George because he can be charming when he wants to be. And I kept thinking maybe he would turn himself around and be a good guy. His relationship with his sister Kate is especially touching. I just love sibling relationships. And Kate believes in her brother and unselfishly works to benefit him in any way she can, especially in trying to convince Alice to accept his proposal. Kate has such a pure, sisterly love, but then it all goes sour, and it was really distressing to see George getting more and more desperate. His story is so tragic because he had the potential to be a really good man, and he throws it all away in his greed and pride. This book explores many deep themes of the Victorian perception of what is right and acceptable in society. In this society, reputation is everything. So it was fascinating to see these issues discussed between the characters and different points raised, logical arguments made, and emotional pleas for or against what each character considered to be an acceptable morality. Ultimately, each person is guided by their own conscience to choose what is truly good. The writing style is wonderful. It really shows the delicate relationships between people and the internal thoughts and emotions of all the characters. I just loved diving into these complex relationships and seeing how each character's personal motivations would change the direction of the story. The dialogue draws you right into each scene, and I really enjoyed analyzing each character and their relationships with the other characters. One of the best things about Trollope's writing is his ability to infuse meaning and tension into the most commonplace occurrences of everyday life. They take a walk, or write a letter, or go for a picnic, and squabble about who should bring the wine. And I'm on the edge of my seat to find out who will bring the wine to the picnic, because the entire social structure of this friend group depends on this one bottle of wine at the picnic. Every little everyday doing becomes immediate and important to the overall story, and it is utter genius in every chapter. I was so delighted with everything about this book, and of course, I gave it 5 stars. And I cannot wait to continue with the Palliser series, probably not until next year sometime, and read more about Plantagenet and Lady Glencora. Please leave me a comment and let me know what is your favorite book from Anthony Trollope and why. Or just leave me a comment and let me know what have you been reading for Victober this year. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.